This is WTAPS, a brand that's all about military-inspired fashion, crafted with that signature Japanese precision. But today, I'm not just talking about clothes. My fascination with WTAPS goes beyond the gear itself. It's about how they've managed to translate their unique energy into a digital experience that truly feels like them. The moment you land on the WTAPS website, something hits you. It's that minimal, clean aesthetic, the perfectly curated images, the thoughtful use of space. Everything is designed with intention. But it's not just a website we're talking about. It's a digital representation of one of Japan's most influential streetwear brands. A brand that's been shaping urban fashion for over 2 decades. Even the name, WTAPS, spelled WTAPS, comes from a military term referring to firing 2 shots in rapid succession at the same target, a technique that guarantees the job gets done. And that same level of detail and purpose runs throughout everything WTAPS does, from the clothing they design to their lookbooks to content posted on social media and the way they present themselves online. So let's take a closer look. First things first, we need to understand where this brand comes from. WTAPS was founded by Tetsu Nishiyama, known as Tet, in 1997. But Tet's creative journey began even earlier with his first brand. The brand was called 40% Against Rights, and it sold graphic t-shirts with bold political messaging. WTAPS came out of the Ura Harajuku scene in the early 90s, a time that was huge for Japanese streetwear, and also saw the rise of brands like Undercover Neighborhood and a bathing ape. This was all happening during Japan's lost decade, a tough period of economic slowdown after the bubble burst. All that uncertainty, something creative and powerful was brewing in the streets of Harajuku, but this is more than that. See, Tetsu had a connection with Shinsuke, the founder of Neighborhood. They go way back, having been friends since high school, with Takizawa, who was about 7 years older, acting as somewhat of a mentor. When Takizawa started Neighborhood in 1994, Tet wasn't far behind, diving into his own creative projects, so the creative energy was always there. It just needed to be channeled into a project that was worth it, and that's where the military influence came in. Tet was fascinated by the practicality and functionality of military clothing, and this became the core aesthetic of his brand. But it wasn't just about the look, it was about the philosophy behind it. Tet embraced 2 main principles: Miya Daiku, referring to Japanese carpenters famous for utilizing every piece of wood to its fullest potential, and Taoism, with its emphasis on harmony and being spontaneous. When asked to describe WTAPS as if it were a song, Tet once said it would be a mix of The Clash, Hans Zimmer, Public Enemy, and Creedence Clearwater Revival. Can you imagine that playlist? It would be absolute chaos, but somehow it makes perfect sense for WTAPS. The punk rebellion of The Clash, the epic cinematic scores of Hans Zimmer, the political fire of Public Enemy, and that timeless, almost military precision of CCR. Try creating that mix on Spotify and you get a pretty good feel for what WTAPS is all about. With that in mind, let's go back to the site and unpack the user experience of WTAPS. The first thing you'll notice when landing on WTAPS.com or WTAPS.com is the striking simplicity. The website opens with a clean, minimalist layout featuring the WTAPS logo prominently displayed, immediately establishing the brand's presence. This isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it's a decision that creates immediate brain recognition and sets the tone for the entire experience. And that's because the WTAPS website balances minimalism with functionality. The navigation is also intuitive. The hamburger menu in the top left corner expands to reveal the simple yet direct categories, which is the item category, followed by feature, movie, visual, news, and store. There's no excessive text, no overwhelming drop-down menus that can confuse a viewer and get them to click off. It's just a straightforward pathway to the content you want to look for. As you scroll down the home page, the content unfolds in a planned sequence. First comes the logo, then the current season's visuals, followed by news, featured content, and new releases. This is a strategic hierarchy that guides visitors through a narrative arc that begins with brand identity and gradually transitions to product discovery. This is important because you have to let your audience know know who you are and what your brand values are as well. What do you stand for? What don't you stand for? And what makes up your DNA? People don't just buy things because they look pretty. Some people want to be invested in your lifestyle. They want to be a part of a community, feel relatable, and be a part of a movement. These things matter, and it's a difference in longevity for brands that are forgotten and the ones that survive for decades. So I think this is always a good idea. But what makes it seamless is the animations on the homepage. As you begin to scroll down, elements fade in with subtle smoothness. Nothing flashy or distracting, which is what I appreciate. Just enough motion to create a sense of depth and dimension. Stay with me here, because this is not the main reason why the website is different in here, trust me. What I just said aligns perfectly with WTAPS' philosophy of functionality with purpose. The animations enhance the experience without overwhelming it, while space is used abundantly throughout the site. Creating breathing room around content and products is a good thing for them when it comes to their values. Rather than empty space, this is intentional negative space that draws attention to what matters most. It's reminiscent of Tet's Taoist influence, where emptiness is valued as much as substance. The product pages demonstrate similar restraints. Products are displayed on clean backgrounds with minimal distractions, allowing the design details to speak for themselves. Each item is presented with just enough information, material, size, and price without cluttering the visual experience. If you spend some time browsing the WTAPS website, you start to notice how seamlessly it blends UX design with their brand identity. If you're planning your next drop and you're not 100% sure it's ready to sell out, I got something for you. I put together a free online assessment to help streetwear brands like yours figure out if you're really set to make your next release a success. This isn't just some generic checklist either. It's built to help you understand whether your hype is real and strong enough to drive demand, how to keep your brand exclusive while building recognition, and if your plan is tight enough to actually sell out. If you're serious about making moves, hit the link in the description, take the assessment, and find out if your brand is really ready for that release. Don't wait until it's too late. There's this natural flow to how everything is arranged. They nailed the hierarchy down pat, from the logo into their seasonal campaigns, and only then showing you product categories. It's like they're taking you on a journey that mirrors how you naturally get to know a brand as a stranger. First the name, then the vibes and energy, and finally what they're actually selling. And as you click around, have you noticed how everything feels connected? The fonts, the spacing, the colors, they're all consistent across every page. This might seem like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. You never feel lost or disoriented as you navigate between sections. It's like walking through different rooms inside the same house. Each one has its own purpose, but still feel part of the same space. What I find particularly impressive is how they've made such a minimal site so accessible. Despite the stripped back aesthetic, everything is super legible. Buttons are obvious without being loud, and the navigation just makes sense intuitively. Even the contrast between text and background is a perfect mixture. When you hover over clickable elements, they give you just enough feedback to let you know, hey, you can interact with this. This is where WTAPS really shines, finding that sweet spot between looking good and working well. Just like their clothing balances military utility with streetwear style, this site balances visual impact with actual usability. Nothing feels like it's just there to look pretty. Every design choice is there to do something. Have you ever abandoned a fashion site because the images took forever to load? Well, that's also a product of the experience. WTAP does not make that mistake. The technical implementation is spot on, with images loading progressively as you scroll, meaning the file sizes are below 20 megabytes. This means you get that crisp, high quality visual without the frustrating delays that make so many fashion websites irritating. It's a small thing that makes a massive difference to the overall experience. And let's talk about how it works on your phone as well, because that's where most people are even shopping now these days. Mobile experience isn't an afterthought. It's clearly been designed with small screens in mind. The layouts adapt perfectly. The navigation simplifies without losing functionality. And impressively, the visual punch remains just as strong. They clearly understand their audience. Streetwear fans who are probably browsing on the go between hitting up actual stores. But you know what really fascinates fascinates me about this website, it's never just trying to sell you stuff. So many fashion sites just feel like an online or digital market, just like a bunch of catalogs saying here's the product, here's the price, add to cart, buy. But WTAPS, they've created this entire digital world that pulls you in and makes you feel like you're part of something bigger. When you're browsing through their site, you're observing the whole energy and philosophy of the ideology that makes up their brand DNA. Every corner of the website tells another piece of their story. It's like each click takes you deeper into their universe that they've created around military aesthetics, Japanese craftsmanship, and street culture. This whole approach really echoes what Tet has already said about design. He believes clothing should fit into your life naturally, not the other way around. And this website follows that same philosophy. It gives you context and understanding first, and then product second. It's encouraging you to think about what you're buying rather than just impulse shopping because something looks lit. I mean, they're not even trying to be cool. They just are. Look at their product copy. It's refreshingly direct and straightforward, without all the marketing fluff you see from some brands. Take this description I found for one of their trucker jackets. Though I had to use Google Translate for it, but it says, a trucker jacket made with original synthetic suede fabric. The lining is made of recycled taffeta. Symmetrical hand warmers are placed on the front. The waist has adjustment buttons on the side. That's it. No overblown claims about how it'll change your life or make you the dopest person inside the room. They simply tell you what it is, what it's made of, and what functional details it includes. This no-nonsense approach to copywriting perfectly aligns with their military-inspired aesthetic and identity. It's practical, purposeful, and precise, just like their designs. You get exactly the information you need without any unnecessary embellishment. They're not trying to sell you on hype. They're letting the product's quality and design speak for itself. But this is not all they have for you guys. One of the most distinctive features of WTAP's website is its dedicated movie section. So many fashion brands either completely skip video content or just throw in a couple of campaign clips as an afterthought. But WTAPS, they made it a central part of their digital presence. And it says so much about who they are as a brand. When you click over the movie section, you'll find this super clean, minimalist grid structure of videos against a white background, and it's in line with their overall aesthetic. But don't let that simple presentation fool you. The content itself is surprisingly diverse and rich. I spent a good hour just diving into their videos, and there's a bit of everything. Some videos are these beautiful shot documentary style pieces where you get to peek behind the curtain of their design process. Some are visual blogs for the brand talking about inspiration designers come up with for pieces they create so you can know the ideal behind the collection. I think that's important because some people just design things, again, just to make them look pretty. But the designs don't have a story behind them, and that can make it difficult for someone to develop a connection to your brand in general. Other videos on the site are more like mood pieces, atmospheric videos that aren't explicitly showing off products but are selling a vibe for the lifestyle of the brand, which goes hand in hand with the brand story. And then they have the more straightforward seasonal collection videos that show the clothes in the motion, and that's what most brands do. The collaborations they document are fascinating. There's this one video featuring WTAPS and Undercover, where Tet sits down with John between two streetwear legends, Takahashi, and they just chat about their creative journeys. It's like listening on a conversation between two streetwear legends, talking about how they built their brands from their early Ura Harajuku days to what they become now. And I think that's dope because that's preserving a piece of fashion history. You guys could check that out too. I think that's the first video that you would see on the catalog. And then there's this intriguing video called WGEN that caught my eye. From the thumbnail, it looks like it explores functional areas of the brain, and that's not exactly what you expect from a clothing brand, right? But that's what makes it so interesting. It shows how Tet is thinking about these deeper philosophical questions and the connections between design and human psychology. It's this kind of content that transforms their site from just another place to buy clothes into this space for artistic and intellectual exploration. It gets a conversation conversation going outside of products. And these are always needed if you want to create a brand that stands the test of time. These can also be considered as value-based content for your community or your customers. And I'm really loving that. Also, the cinematography is never rushed or sloppy. You can tell they've put real thought into the composition, lighting, and pacing. Everything moves at this measured, deliberate rhythm that gives you time to actually absorb what you're seeing instead of suffocating you with quick cuts and flashy effects like so many fashion videos do. But the movie section on their site is just the beginning of WTAPS, impressive visual content, which goes way beyond typical product shots. It's all part of the brand's effort to create a full visual language that truly represents, again, their identity. This is where WTAPS really shines. And this is the foundation of launching a brand. You cannot skip this part because you will always end up going back to it in the future. I'm telling you, take the visual section, for example. It's like a digital lookbook. Each season's collection is presented through editorial photos that put the pieces in real world context. Instead of just plain shots of the clothes, the images tell stories and set moods, making you appreciate the designs even more. The beauty of it is how it balances artistic expression with commercial needs. These photos are striking enough to stand alone as creative works, yet they also clearly highlight the details and styling options of each piece. This blend of art and function is very much in line with Tet's broader philosophy. As you dive into the photos, you start to notice the distinct WTAPS vibe. The color palette leans towards muted, military-inspired tones, and the compositions are clean and straightforward, putting the focus right on the garments. The models are photographed in natural, relaxed poses, showing how the clothes move and fit in real life. And it's not just the clothing that's on display. The environments they choose for the photo shoots, urban settings, industrial spaces, natural backdrops, add texture and depth, complementing the themes of each collection. It all comes together to create a cohesive world that extends beyond the clothing itself and taps into the brand's lifestyle aesthetic. The combination of the movie and visual sections create a content ecosystem that really sets WTAPS apart in the crowded streetwear scene. While many brands stick to product-focused content, WTAPS goes further, building cultural context and adding deeper meaning to what they offer. It's a narrow but powerful approach. This strategy clicks well with WTAPS audience, not just something to follow trends with. And that's the type of people you want to attract in general. What's smart about this approach is that it builds long-term loyalty. When your customers can connect with the thought process and cultural references behind the collections, it always creates a deeper appreciation that goes beyond seasonal fads, alright? That's probably why WTAPS has maintained such a loyal following for over 2 decades, while many hype-driven brands have faded away. The goal is to make people buy multiple purchases of your drops. It shouldn't be a one and done thing. If you put it in a context like music, and do you want to be a one-hit wonder or develop a true fan base in decades past? And what makes WTAP's content strategy even more effective is how it balances exclusivity with accessibility. The brand keeps that sense of mystery and insider knowledge, something that's been part of its allure from the start, but it still offers enough content for newcomers to understand and connect with what WTAPS is all about. This website nails this balance through careful curation. Not everything is spilled out. There are references and codes that reward those who've been around long enough to catch the meaning, but there's still enough context and info for new visitors just to get a feel for the brand's core values and aesthetic. This selective approach to sharing information creates a sense of discovery that pulls visitors in on a deeper level. Navigating the WTAPS site feels like slowly being initiated into a subculture with its own language and references. In a world where fashion info is readily available everywhere, this experience of discovery becomes even more valuable. So what do we really have when we step back and look at the WTAPS website as a whole? It's not just another online store or fancy digital lookbook. What they've built is an entire digital ecosystem that brings the WTAPS universe to life online. Everything works together, from how you navigate the site to the content content they create to how it all adapts to your phone, creating this seamless experience that constantly reinforces what WTAPS stand for. What makes this work so well is how they balance different needs without compromising on any of them. They're selling products, sure, but most importantly, they're also telling their brand story and building a community all at the same time. It never feels like one aspect is overshadowing the others. This reminds me so much of Tet's own approach to design. The guy posts inspiration from everywhere: military gear, skateboarding, philosophy, music, and somehow blends it all into something cohesive. Their website does this exact same thing, combining e-commerce functionality with editorial content, artistic expression, and community building. In a world where websites are constantly chasing the latest design trends, WTAPS has evolved technically while keeping their core aesthetic and organizational principles intact. Also love the way how they managed to maintain the sense of exclusivity without making new visitors feel unwelcome. They are 100% codes that I didn't really understand as a longtime fan, but people that are longtime fans will pick them up and appreciate them. But if you're new to the brand, there's still plenty of context and clear pathways to help you understand what WTAPS is all about. They figured out how to reward the insiders while still being accessible to newcomers, a balance that many brands struggle with to this day. So what can we actually take away from WTAP's approach? Here are some key lessons that anyone can apply. First, authenticity beats trends every time. WTAPS hasn't changed every digital fad that comes along. Instead, they stay true to their core values and aesthetics, adapting new technologies to fit their vision rather than the other way around. I mean, even look at something simple as the language shown on their website. It's not about them catering to an American audience or European culture or any other culture out there. They just want to unapologetically be themselves. Second, balance functionality with meaning. Everything on the site serves a practical purpose, but also contributes to the larger story they're telling. Nothing feels over the top or like it's just there for decoration. Third, embrace the power of white spaces. WTAPS understands that what you leave out is just as important as what you include. Their generous use of white space creates a breathing room that lets their content shine without overwhelming visitors. Fourth, build layers of engagement. Create different depths of content for different types of visitors. Something like surface level information for casual browsers, deep dives for the more committed, and hidden gems for the actual true fan. And finally, maintain consistency across everything you do, from product design to your website layout to your copywriting style. WTAPS creates a cohesive world where every element feels connected to the same core principles. And this is what makes WTAPS website so effective. And it doesn't feel like another marketing channel. It's a genuine expression of their entire philosophy and their brand value and identity. Tet always talks about placing things where they should be, and their website embodies this approach perfectly. Every element serves a purpose, just like the functional design on their field jackets and cargo pants. This approach creates an authentic digital experience that stands apart from your average online e-commerce template type of store or website. Remember, true style comes from perfecting timeless principles, putting things exactly where they belong. Alright y'all, this is Lee from North Studios. If you like this video, make sure you check this one out next. Until next time, I'm out of here.